Hello, hello. Look at how many people here are here on time. Oh my goodness, it's so great. Hi, I'm Jill Badonsky, and hi, Jamie. And Kathy, Heidi, and Kate, and Megan. If you're just seeing me, or people are just popping up. Let me take us off the. Hi, this is Jill Badonsky. Welcome. And what we're going to do, we're just going to start right out in the creative process, because sometimes thinking and talking and listening isn't the best place to start. So what I want you to do is, hopefully you have something to draw upon. And I want you to draw a big heart like that. So you have room inside of it. And just right off the bat, I want you to just check in with yourself. And, it's the first class. There's all sorts of emotions and things around the first class. I want you to write in that heart just things you're worried about, things that, some people are like, am I in the right place? Who is this woman? It just, you don't need to censor it at all, because you're not going to read it or show it or anything. I just want you to just get in black and white what's happening with you in terms of fears. Okay, that was music from Kate, so we'll just turn that off. So take a moment to do that. Okay, and if you don't have anything, you don't need to invent something. I mean, but usually there's something. Am I going to be able to do all of this? What is a creativity coach? What else? All of that stuff. So just put all that down. And underneath it, this is what I suggest that you write. I don't need to do anything about this. All of this is okay. All of it is normal. I'll just let it be. I don't need to do anything about any of this. All of this is okay. All of it is normal. I'll just let it be. And I will give you a handout about this exercise. This is a normalizing exercise. This is one of our biggest tools in Kaizen Muse creativity coaching. Is just going, it's normal. It's normal to procrastinate. It's normal to have fear at the beginning of a process. It's normal to be overwhelmed. You're not alone. So that is big in the creative process. All of this is normal. And you'll be hearing, and we will be practicing normalization all the way around along the journey. Right now, hopefully you're in an undistracted environment. Why don't you just take a moment and take a deep breath in, and if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And just land, arrive, whatever that means to you. And if that's hard, that's okay. Just arrive a little bit. Just let the shoulders drop. And all the muscles around the eyes soften. Just feel the sensation of relaxation move through the shoulders, down the back, to the belly. And feel the rising and falling of breath in and breath out. Just the breath tethering you to this present moment, to this space. And observe what's going on in the mind. Your mind might be chattering away. That's okay, it's pretty normal. But just notice it as from a benevolent observer's standpoint, just watching this fascinating mind. We don't want to turn our mind off. It's got ideas. But we just want to watch it for a moment and not be caught up in it. And then take a breath in. And on the breath out, just sink into that place inside of you that's filled with creativity, ideas, shapes, and colors, and words. Place you've visited so many times before in dreams and in aha moments. And just allow this vast, never ending place inside of you to just develop a little imaginary scene of this beautiful garden. Just at the beginning of the garden, there is a path. So let your garden design itself to please you. Just colors and feel the sensations of breeze, the smells, the sounds. It can be anything. This is the beginning of your journey, a new journey, another journey. And although we're at the beginning, there's lots you're bringing with you in terms of wisdom and intuition and experience. So feel those things. Feel equipped. And take a moment and ask yourself what it would feel like to know that you're in the right place. And then toy with that notion just 5% that you are believing you are in the right place. Then just walk around the garden a little bit, just curious, relaxed, confident, even a little cocky. There is a reason that you're here. May not be the reason you're thinking, but there is a reason that will make itself clear with each new week. Take a moment and imagine some benevolent entity there meeting up with you in your garden. Just let it be anything that feels good to be in the company of. And that entity has a message for you. It may not come in this moment, but in case it does, just listen for the message in your garden. This is your creative companion, so you may thank her or him or it if you get a message. And know that that entity is always there for you to check in with or to get wisdom from. But for now, just begin to come back gradually, not completely back, because you're going to continue the process on the page. And just gently awaken enough to open your eyes and look at your page and to write the half sentence, "in my garden," and continue it for a few moments. And then take a moment to find a stopping place. If you're on a roll, maybe you want to come back later. And I know you don't know each other and may not feel comfortable with each other yet, but if anybody want to share anything about what you've written or what about the experience itself? Anybody? Nope. It's okay. All right, I'll share mine. I wrote, I met up with my entity, and she just said, "Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy." We had different things every time. I just love this training, and what I know about it, so I've been doing it. It's my 15th year anniversary doing this, and nobody is the same at the end of it, and it'll be in ways, and that's a good thing. It'll be in ways different than what you might think. It's really hard to describe this training. But one of the things we do, we just use two of our tools. We do guided relaxations because it gets people. How many people and you don't have to raise your hand, had a positive experience with this? Did anybody have a positive experience? That's good. Some people don't like guided relaxations, and that's okay. You'll learn how to do them anyway, because when we ask our clients at the end of sessions, what was the most helpful part of it? Guided imageries, guided relaxations are often the thing that they come up with. I want you to draw this time I want you to draw a big, like, hot air balloon that has some space inside of it. It can be like really rough like that. We don't want to leave you just with everything you're fearing and dreading and annoyed by. We wanted this hot air balloon inside of it, right? What you're looking forward to here. What feels good about this? What would you imagine about it that feels good? And notice how it feels to write those things. Again, you don't have to share them, but you may want to put this in a place to where you can see it. What we'll be talking about next week is a reminder journal. So I'd like you all to get a journal, or if somebody gave you one of those, if you're creative, like it's likely that somebody gave you a blank journal and you put it on a shelf and you're not using it because it's too pretty. So that this might be the time to bring that out, because this isn't a journal where it has to be pretty, or you're writing, I had a bologna sandwich today and then I went to the club. You're going to be putting things in there you want to remember. So it's something you're going to come back to and review, but you'll get a whole handout about that. But I bring it up now because this might be something you want to cut out and put into it. So what is this training? What is this training all about? Just a little bit about where it came from. My background is in occupational therapy and psychiatry. So I used to work with troubled adolescents in a psychiatric unit with art and crafts to help them with frustration tolerance and self-esteem and some sort of control that they had when their bodies and their lives were out of control, but also using the creative process for healing. So I would have them draw pictures and do things, and a psychiatrist would interpret them. And what was apparent is the creative process is a reflection of ourselves. How we approach our creativity is often how we approach ourselves and life. And I became obsessed with the creative process and worked in that hospital for a while until I got my master's degree, and then started getting promotions and worked in psychiatric hospitals as a expressive therapy director over music therapy and recreational therapy and everything. Kept getting promoted, ended up in Kansas City opening a hospital and packaging programs for kids and adolescents that became really successful. So I started consulting with hospitals all over the country, and then they promoted me to marketing director, which was ridiculous. So I was starting to use my creativity for these hospitals that didn't have a real good moral compass. Ended up in Washington, D.C., and just totally burnt out and just walked out one day, which is a really interesting experience, walking out and not having a job. And so I panicked and had a really good reputation in the company, and somebody here in San Diego hired me, which some fool, because I was still really burnt out. And I got to experience what it's like to be laid off, which was my biggest fear, and it turned out to be the best thing that could ever happen to me. When your biggest fear is the best thing that could happen to you, you just want to go through more fears and prove them wrong. So I did a one-woman show. I started doing improv comedy with a troupe, and then started teaching the Artist Way. I taught the Artist Way for 6.5 years, and people didn't want it to be over. So I started inventing things, new groups, the son of the Artist Way, the Artist Way Reloaded. But this was all my material, and it became my first book, which is The 9 Modern Day Muses and a Bodyguard, which I just ordered for most of you last night, so you'll be getting it in the mail. But in the process of wanting to do a one-woman show and write a book, I came up against blocks. I didn't want to do it. I was resistant. I had out of these world's expectations. I was distracted. I was procrastinating. So I went to a life coach, and she blocked me even more because she was too linear. And I just want to qualify that by saying there's lots of life coaches that don't block people. But she was like, well, you want to write a book? Next week, let's have a chapter. And because she told me to do that, I came back and said, I have even less because you told me what to do. You cannot tell creative people what to do. She gave me a really linear goal things, surveys, this and that, and I was just completely blocked and turned off and overwhelmed in the first 15 minutes of each of our sessions. So I wondered how many creative people are getting blocked by life coaches, or by anybody, or by themselves. And figured out a way of working with creative people where you don't tell them what to do, where you trick fears and you accept all of these things, like the fact that procrastination and all of these things are normal. But we begin to look at creative voices, and that's what the muses are. They're creative voices. So there's 9 of them, and you'll get to know them. And really what they are is creative principles in the guise of muses. It's just, to me, it was more fun to work with Aphrodite and Albert than paying attention and thinking differently. And you don't have to buy into the whole muse thing. You can use them as creative principles. But that was back in 2000. And so ever since then, these tools seem to work. And I made them into this my master's is in curriculum development. One of my clients, when I started creativity coaching myself, kept recommending this book by Dr. Maurer, The Kaizen Way. And I get all sorts of books recommended to me, so I ignored him. And it kept popping up different places. So I thought I better at least Google who this guy is. And I started reading about Kaizen, and it just encapsulated one of my muses named Marge, who was all about small steps. But it explained it from the brain's point of view. Another one of my muses, Audacity. So I had the audacity to email Robert Maurer and say, you need to work with me. And being the person he is, he said, okay. And he lives in Santa Monica. So I drove up and I met him, and he's a part of this training now. He will be teaching one of the classes, and you'll be listening to a couple of his classes that he did. He travels a lot now, so he's got time for one class. But he's available. I gave you on one of your handouts his phone number and his email, and anytime you want to call him or email him, you can do that as well. And he is there for you. So this is a 17 or 18 week program. It kind of fluctuates back and forth. And what it is not is school. This is not academics. And it's because I'm a very creative person. It's not objective strategies. It's more of a conversation. We're going to be having a conversation. You're going to learn the tools. You're going to practice with the tools. You're going to use the tools on yourself and see how they work. And you will be going away from here equipped to work with people in a way that makes their creativity blossom. And yours will as well, because you'll have your own creative project that you work on starting on week 6. And before we go anymore, I want to get to know you guys, because this class becomes even richer with your experience, with your wisdom, and your participation. And it worked out well here. We have about 12 people in the class, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, 7 people here now. So I'll talk a little bit about the Facebook site after we introduce ourselves, but you were invited to either one of these classes. And when I've taught 2 classes before, some people came to both of them. You're welcome to come to both of them, because it's kind of did my audio cut out? Nope. Megan, did your audio cut out? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I don't hear anything.
Uh-oh.
I can hear you, Jill.
Weird.
I can hear you as well.
Okay, let me write
I don't
to
hear anyone.
Megan. Everyone else is in here.
Oh, shoot.
We can hear you. So don't cuss. That's happened to me before.
What's going on?
All right. Okay, so you can come to either class. And if you happen to have to, I'm going to mute her because she doesn't know we can hear her. If you happen to miss a class, all of these classes are recorded. You'll get a copy of the recording each week. Andrea, I think you need, Andrea, can you hear me? Looks like Andrea is frozen now. Sometimes this thing freezes, and she's up in the Yukon. So her connection may not be good, but Megan, it can be your headset. Check the settings on your system. Oh, let's see. It's not a perfect system. Well, let's just start with introductions. I'd like to introduce to you guys Jamie. Is she in the middle of your screen? She's in the middle of my screen. And Andrea's gone. And that's another thing. Megan, let me tell Megan, go out and come back in again. So Jamie has gone through this program. She's in the Master Coach program. And if people go through this program and then they go through it again to become a Master Coach. And they do various things in addition to that, including she will be meeting with some of you and practice coaching. She's also been through my Muse Facilitator class. I have a training that trains people to can you hear now, Megan? Okay. Yeah, sometimes that's it. It's you have to go back about it.
Thank you.
So I have a class where you can teach groups how to use the muses to become more creative. And Jamie's been through, how many times have you done that, Jamie?
6 or 7.
6 or 7. And not because she flunked it, it's because you go through it and it's different every time, because these, as you'll find out in the book, the muses can be used for all different things, and the training is different each time. But Jamie, why don't you tell us about yourself and just do that?
So I am I retired from private corporation, IBM, in 2013, having met Jill 2 or 3 years prior to that. I believe I went through the KMCC training in 2006. I got certified, I believe, in 2011. And then I kept coming back for the Muse training. I am not an artist, I'm not a writer, I'm not a painter, I'm not a dancer. I am a searcher, and I am always looking for my creativity. And the thing that brought me to Jill was actually going through menopause. I felt like my creativity was leaving with hormones and other things, and I had bought Jill's almanac. And about 5 months later, I said, let me Google this person. And I found Jill, and I would say it's for life now, Jill. I would say for life. And I am looking forward to working with all of you. And among the things I put in the heart is, oh my gosh, what have I done? What am I doing? And I am looking to be, what I put in the balloon is that I am excited about inspiration from all of you, certainly from Jill, and conquering a few more of my fears as I go through this process. So right now I'm an adjunct instructor. I teach at-risk college students at a community college where I live. I'm an advisor, and that is really where I am using my KMCC tools that I've learned, that I continue to learn, with my college students. With my brand new college students, I am teaching them the muses to try to help them get through their first semester of college and then go on to be successful throughout their whole college career and in life. So thanks for having me, Jill.
And tell us where you're from.
Oh, I am from upstate New York, about 60 miles from New York City, and we are getting ready for a very deep freeze here, -3 on Wednesday. So we're bundled up.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
And Melissa's from New York too, aren't you, Melissa? Okay, I want all of you to introduce yourself and just say where you're from, um, and share, a creative success, something that is your definition. For instance, I did this one woman show where I played 7 different characters, and it's one of my favorite creative things. It didn't make any money, but it's one of my favorite things ever that I did. So just some of your creative successes, what brought you here, and what do you think this creative coaching is? What do you want it to be, or what do you what are your little expectations, or maybe you don't have anything, and that's fine. Anybody want to go first? Sure. Then we'll just kind of.
I'll go.
Okay, go ahead. Thanks, Kathy.
Okay, my name is Kathy Gonzalez, and I live in California in Stevenson Ranch. Sounds like a ranch, but it's not a ranch. So, let's see. I've worked for the entertainment business for, 20 years, in a technical aspect. So I'm very technical, but I have a lot of background in art because I like to draw. And what brought me here, I think, was that I'm launching a business, and I do websites, and I do logos. I'm a graphic designer. I like to call myself a graphic designer. But what kept happening for me was that as I'm launching this business, this little voice kept coming in my head. Maybe you don't have it. Maybe you can't do this. Maybe you shouldn't do this. And I thought, no, you know what? I'm done with that. Um, so I joined SketchCon, and so that I could draw and do what I like doing. And I saw Jill do a talk at SketchCon, and I just got fired up about it. And I thought, you know what? That's what I need to get out of this voice that's going in my head, stop playing it, and just enjoy doing what I do, which is I like drawing and I like to do mixed media. And so I thought, I got to stop this if I'm going to go out and do my business. And I just need to stop doing that. And also, I liked what Jill was doing. I want to help people who get stuck like I do. So I'm surrounded by a lot of creative people, and at times I'll be talking to them, and some write music and play music, and they're stuck, and so I keep hearing the same thing from everybody. And I think I've got that energy going around me right now. So this is why I decided to sign up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I wanted to do. Jill, you really kind of sparked that. So that's why I came into the class.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Yeah. I want to talk about something Jamie said and then something that you said. And Jamie said that she's working with people at risk with her.
Mm-hmm.
This coaching model, it can be used for anything. It doesn't have to be used for artists or writers. It can be used with your partner. It can be used with works really well with teenagers because it's we're not telling you what to do here directly. And with Kathy, yeah, one of the things that you'll learn, one of the first things you'll learn is where these creative blocks come from. And one of them is our self-talk, those voices that she's talking about. And one of the things we don't need to do that will free up a lot of energy is we don't have to stop them. They're you know how we kind of step out of ourself and watch our thoughts. You're not going to stop them. We just have voices in our head that are going, who do you think you are? You can't do this. You're too old. Look at what everybody else is doing. It's just this tape that we are born with. Some people are lucky; they're born in environments where their parents are going, encouraging, so they internalize those voices. But most of us have, you're never going to get this done. How come you don't even finish anything? We have all those voices, and that's one of the biggest things that we'll be working on is honoring those voices, going, thanks for sharing, and then learning new voices and practicing those voices and seeing where those voices take you. And it's pretty remarkable. I think, how many people are familiar with Julia Cameron, who's the Artist Way person? She taught the Artist Way. there's no ceiling to creativity. When you have the voice that says, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And what you'll learn is one of the biggest things is our expectations. If we lower them, if we give ourselves permission to do crap, if we, do things a minute at a time rather than an hour at a time, some of these things that we're dealing with just go away. I have to constantly remind myself about them because, I'm the poster child for creative blocks. So I'm glad you're here, Kathy. SketchCon was an incredible experience, and I loved it. So we'll be doing some of the things we did at SketchCon here because it is a way of getting through all of this stuff that stops us from taking risks and believing in ourselves. So great. How about you, Heidi?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I muted myself too. Let's see. So I'll start with one of my favorite creative moments was when I was married. I made a lot of art and worked on a lot of things like that and sold things. And my husband always felt that it was kind of a waste of time if I couldn't sell things. So several years later, I was at a show and I was with someone else who was a musician. He was living as a musician, and he encouraged me just to do what I wanted. And I did. I made a bunch of relief faces out of ceramic, made these tiles with relief faces. And I didn't sell very many that day. I took them to a show, but I really loved the way people were just kind of interacting with them and enjoying them. And I realized that as much as I would love to make a living with my art, I think I even love it more when people can interact with it and get something out of it. So that was one of my favorite creative moments. Let's see. So I'm an instructional designer too, but I don't have exactly the background you have. I actually work in corporate America now, and I have a goal. I started it a year ago, a 4-year plan to get out of corporate America for good. And I realized that if I'm going to use my creative endeavors to make a living, it's going to have to be kind of a multiple streams of income type of model. And so for a long time, I've wanted to write about creativity, and I too am another poster child for creative blocks. And so I kind of enjoy inspiring people and being inspired and helping people, even if I can't help myself sometimes, because I can tell other people to give advice, but I can't always follow it myself. So I just think this just sounds fascinating and wonderful and inspiring to me. And I actually found you through Elephant Journal. I was looking for articles on creativity, and I read your bio, and I went to your website.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. That's a big one. It's a waste of time to do your creativity if you're not selling things. That's a big block for people.
Yeah.
People feel really freed up and liberated when you give them permission not to have to sell things and make money from it. There's so many other fringe benefits to the creative process, for sure. And that's how I got started with when I left corporate America, was multiple streams of income. So this is a good one for that. And good. Yeah. Good. Yeah. And it's nice to be a poster child for blocks, because that really gives you the empathy and I call it intuitive empathy, where you're like, is this going to work for me? And also, Julia Cameron talks, I never talk about Julia this much, but she's coming up a lot. She talks about the shadow artist, and that is, I can help you, but I don't deserve, or, I can't be helped myself. So this is a good time to move from the shadow to applying this stuff to yourself as well. The neat thing about working with clients is you get paid, and they also give you all sorts of ideas. Because what you're going to learn is we don't tell them what to do. You're going to learn all sorts of tools, and there's a way of sharing those with them without telling them what to do. But we're going to start by asking them what they think would work. So we get all sorts of ideas what would work as well for us. So it is a very symbiotic relationship that, plus when you're working with people, you just want to do more creativity yourself. And it's really important. It's an important point that if you're wanting to be a creative coach, you need to be doing your own creativity. You need to be having your own creative outlets that don't have anything to do with marketing and business building and helping other people, just for yourself too. Kathy, did you share your favorite creative moments? I'm not sure if you.
No, I didn't. Let's see. I've had a couple that I like. Let's see. My friend who is a musician asked me to do backup singing, which I thought was kind of interesting because I'm not a singer. So I was like, "Are you sure you want me to sing?" But I had a great time doing it, and we did a lot of clubs, and I did a lot of backup singing, and so that was fun. Who do we lose? Did we lose
Nobody.
me?
I think
Oh.
Megan's on the phone as well as on the screen now.
Got it.
Okay.
I let's see, and then drawing things that I've drawn that I just like. So for me, those getting compliments about my drawing, people really liking it. I think for me, those are kind of some pretty good creative moments for me, and I enjoy doing the things that I thought I couldn't do. The singing, for instance, or the drawing part of it. You know, I attended UCLA's graphic design program, and I always thought I would be the one where, you know, you put your stuff on the board and everybody would, you know, critique it. And I always thought, are they really going to rip mine apart? And I ended up being like one of the final people on the board where the teacher was saying, okay, these are the ones he chose for, you know, that he thought were good. You know, so I was always surprised by that because I thought, really? Because I didn't see that. But you know, I started to gain a little more confidence in my creativity. So I'm hoping to keep that going.
Nice. And one of the ways we work through resistance is to remember these moments, to remember what you enjoyed, the moments where you were acknowledged, if you were, or just liking to see what other people are doing and interacting with your art. Keeping that in mind, because talk about those voices. Our voices want to talk about what we're not doing and what we're not doing right. So we one of the voices we need to give more airtime to is, what did I do that I like? And how did I do that? Was I confident? Is it just a skill I have? And just reminding ourselves of these things all the time, giving them more airtime. The critic, our inner critic, has had a lot of airtime in our life. So it's time to give more airtime to these other voices. How about you, Melissa?
So my name is Melissa. I am from Brooklyn, New York. I am doing this because I also spent my entire 20s blocking myself from creating and just thinking that I wasn't good enough and comparing myself to other creatives. And I did a lot of that. And I also I've been through coaching, and I thought it was something that I really wanted to get into because I was like, I could do this. Like, people always say that I'm very inspiring and I inspire them to do great things. And I'm just like, okay, well, maybe I could do this as well. What else did you want to know again?
Favorite create. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, because you do all sorts of things. Just your favorite creative moments. And
Yeah, so I recently opened up a gallery in Brooklyn last summer. It's called SK Art Space, and that by far is like one of my major like creative moments. The very first group show that we did, we had about 21 female artists, and I want to say about 16 or 17 artists out of the 21. That was like their very first show. We sold a lot of paintings, and it was just an amazing experience to see these artists, you know, interact with people who really loved their work and was giving them great feedback and the smiles on their faces. And it was just, it just felt really good to see artists in that moment and experience that in a platform that I created. So that was one of my favorite creative moments.
Beautiful. Nice. Great. How did you find this coaching, this training?
I have been searching online just randomly for a very long time now. I looked at like art therapy and like art therapy certifications and like a bunch of things. And I think through my intensive research, this popped up on my radar. And I kind of flagged it. You know, I kept looking at it like every other month or so. Like that's how I found it, through just like researching, because I knew like what I wanted to do, but I didn't know if there was something out there that was going to teach me how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Glad you're here. Thank you. So Megan, are you on the phone too? Uh-oh, there she is.
Question is, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. I actually don't remember how I found the training. I think I was just kind of looking at life coach stuff, not even really seriously. I recently got out of a very long, let's just call it very toxic relationship, and moved to another city to start over, and got out of my job. I've been in health insurance for the longest time. And I'm like, what do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just looking at the life coach stuff, kind of half kind of thing. And then I came across this description of yours of the creativity coaching, and it was just like, bam, click. That's how I feel about my creativity. And I've always really liked both teaching and helping others, especially adults. I love showing people like how to do crafts and just enjoying the creative process right along with them. So it felt like this kind of almost like coming home when it came to like an idea of a job, but it's like something I could actually enjoy, which after 20 plus years in health insurance is a nice change.
Yeah.
My most interesting or memorable creative experience, decisions. Because of that interesting relationship, I love being creative, but it was it was just a bad atmosphere, and it kind of like stopped me from being creative for the longest time. I didn't feel like I wanted to do anything. I couldn't get interested in anything. I think actually a lot of it was some depression too. Mm. And now that I've been out of that since September, October, somewhere around there, my creativity has blossomed again. And it feels so good to just make things. And I've been kind of applying those so what, I'll do it anyway sort of principles, because I realized I was actually very self-critical about my art for a long time. And, this isn't good enough, or I didn't get that line right, or I'd finished something and I don't like the way it looks, that kind of thing. But there was nothing wrong with it. It was just me. Mm-hmm. One of the things I've gotten back into that just thrills the heck out of me is my mom taught me to crochet when I was young. And I loved it, and I didn't do it for the longest time, and I've gotten back into it, and it's like it's easy again, which is really cool. And I've gone from not being able to do anything to, okay, I kind of remember what a granny square is like. And now 4 months later, I've done Afghans, I've done shawls, I've done toys. If you want to, I don't know if you guys can still see the Megan O'Connor picture here.
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful.
I mean, that was just the other day, and it's like, oh my God, it worked.
Wow.
And it's those yarns that changes colors as it goes along. Mm-hmm. And it was changing color mid-row, and I caught myself going, oh, that's annoying. And it's like, no, let it go, just relax. It's pretty no matter what. And I was thinking, oh, I'll have to rip it out and go back and then I applied no. So what? I'll just let it go. I'll do it anyway. And I've learned to love it.
That is so great.
So
What a
I'm
great
in
analogy.
that process.
Mhm.
Huh?
What a great analogy. Just kind of letting it go,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Feels good.
And you know what? There is a lot of people who are caught up in their jobs and they've lost their creativity, right? That is a great niche for this kind of coaching. You know, we'll talk about all along the way the need for this. But if you think about the people who procrastinate or overwhelmed, have these voices that talk them out of things, resist just starting, don't know where to start, compare themselves, self-sabotage themselves. Those are the people these tools work with. So are people freezing up? Is Melissa, are you frozen? Where are you, Megan? Part of the country.
Sorry, I muted myself again. I moved from Seattle I am now in Albuquerque, which is a very artsy city. I love it here.
Oh, that's right. I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks. doing
Yeah, I saw that.
doing my retreat in Taos. Okay. Yeah. So what? I can't do it anyway. You guys will be hearing that. Again, it's really some of the things you'll be learning seem really simple, but they're pretty profound in terms of what they can do for you. And that's one of them. It's like when those voices, nobody's going to like this. So what? I'm going to do it anyway. You know, the rows are looking strange. So what? I'm too old. So what? Just like that's one of the voices we want to have going on a little bit more. Okay, Kate, how about you?
Hi, I'm from West Palm, Florida. And Jill and I kind of have a weird connection, which we found out through chatting on Facebook. I have been a art teacher for about 15 years. I grew up as an artsy kid, and actually went to school I got a bachelor's in health science and was very much into math and science. But growing up as an art kid, art kept popping up after I got my bachelor's, and went and took a painting class one summer and thought, what am I doing? I'm in the wrong field, and got my master's in art education. I have worked with pretty much elementary age kids, and have enjoyed it completely, and to this day still do. But the last few years, the arts have been kind of draining me. It's every year a fight for my job, because it's on the chopping block. Kids aren't the same today as they were 15 years ago when I first started doing it. And kind of realized that I need to do something else. And also I've struggled with, and I don't mind sharing with you all since this is a very tight-knit little group here, but struggled with anorexia for most of my life and have gone through treatment, therapy, and art has truly been the thing that's healed me. That creative outlet has been what's most of my artwork typically now is self-expression. It's if I'm having a rough day, I can get it out in some kind of drawing, painting, mixed media. And so I realized I'm done teaching, like in the formal setting, and I need to help other people now.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly kind of like what you did, Jill, when I said, I was like, oh my, I did that. I left my job in December. I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. It's squashing my own creativity, but there's something bigger that's I need to be able to do now. So my goal is to make a business, and offer like creativity classes, not so much art classes, not so much this is the famous painter. That's stuff that I enjoy just researching on my own. But to help people who are stuck, and be able to like reach in and find that little creative spark, and reignite it, whether it be at like a yoga studio where it's offering like a mandala workshop, or going to a company where their morale's kind of low and saying, hey, I have got too many creative ideas. Let me share them with you guys. So I guess that's me in a nutshell. As far as a creative memory, oh gosh, I think just everyday teaching, coming up with being out and about in the world and seeing something and being able to be like, oh, that'd make an awesome project. And doing it myself and getting more value from it than I think the kids actually do, because it ends up being more of a therapeutic project for me. And I think just creating for me is an everyday experience, which when I was teaching, I couldn't do, because I'm making lesson plans and going to faculty meetings, and it's much more draining on that creative spark.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. Yeah. You lived in Wellington. Or do you still live in Wellington?
No, I'm on by the water now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. My dad helped develop Wellington, where she used to live, and yeah, a lot of little things. Cool. Well, you're in the right place. You're totally, all of you are in the right place. And just there's a lot of it. This is really a 6-month course, not a 4-month course. So there's going to be a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of handouts and a lot of reading, but it's not like there's books and books and books. There's handouts, and so take your time with them, read them, and know that there's not a vast number of things that you're learning. What you're going to learn is going to repeat itself over and over again, and just different ways. And I've totally revamped the course this time, so it actually may not be as overwhelming. We're going to be taking a lot more time and doing experiences and things like that. You may have noticed there was a typo. I'm totally redoing all of everything. So if you notice typos, just let me know, because, I don't care if you let me know. I like it when you let me know. But I did upload a new agenda, and let's see, it's uploaded. Let's kind of let's go over to Facebook, our little winter spring KMCC training over there, and hopefully. And unfortunately, Andrea is not on the phone anymore, because I can tell she's not getting notifications. If you go to the notification, make sure that you're getting, I don't know, highlights, or I don't know. You want to get notifications. Then you'll get notified when things get uploaded. If you click over on files, you will see all of the files that have been uploaded so far. I'm gonna post, I'm gonna post call points for class 1. One of the things that you'll do each week, you may have read this. I'll put a little, Sarah usually does this. And she puts a little something, let's see. Oh, what did I do? I just put, I was putting a random illustration up here. So you should see now that there's a new post that says Awakening to the Moment, which has nothing to do with anything. But for each class, you're going to put 3 call points. Like if you've been, you might put, you know, we don't need to stop our voices. We just need to develop some new ones. So I'm going to put that. And then one of your call points, and you can put them all in the same post, is you're going to have a reflection, just something that you say about it. Like if I were to say something about this one, I'll edit it and go, my voice tells me to do too much. And I don't get much of that done. And then I beat myself up. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be that personal, but just some experience of one of the points. The 2 other ones can be, she said we work with everybody, number 2, number 3, you know, we're going to do some of the experiences in here. We're going to use, so what, I'll do it anyway. So this does a couple of things. It helps me see if you're, because a lot of times people misunderstand me and they'll post something, and that's okay. Then I have the opportunity to say, no, that's not exactly what I meant. This is what we do. Like if people say, we always do this and we never do that, I'll stop. Well, there's always exceptions. And then the other thing is it's just a good rehash. It helps you to process some of the things that we're talking about. And it helps other people too, as you can read the call points, read other people's call points, and, you know, it just seems to have worked out as a nice way to process the class. So that's part of your first homework, is to do that. And then I'll be, you know, the screwy thing about Facebook is if somebody likes a post, like somebody scrolls down and let's say I've liked most of these. Let's say I'm going to like my own. It's going to go right up to the top. So if you refresh your browser, Andrea just came to the top. Oh, so it's screwy. You may have to scroll around to find things, but you can always go over to the files to find the homework and the handouts. I'll also be posting the link to this will be uploaded to YouTube, but not just for you guys to see. Other people won't be able to see it. Does anybody have any questions about the Facebook page? There'll be other homework assignments, and I'll specify, post this on Facebook or send this to me or your master coach. So we'll do that. Let's see where it says new activity right above the top post. Click there, you can see it. Wow, it's nice to have people who know what they're doing. Where it says new. So where it says new activity right above the top post, click there and you can set it to see the most recent post first. It might change back on you. It helps. It's nice to have computer geeks in the class. Good. Okay, so that's one thing is you can set it to new activity to see that first. One of the things I uploaded is your requirements. And I hate taking time to go through them, but let's just click on them. And just to talk about some of the things you'll be doing in this class. one of the things I have is I have recordings I've done in coaching sessions. So you can listen to coaching sessions I've done to get an idea of how this works. And that'll be a homework assignment that comes up. The way this works, you guys can read through it. It's like so dry to go through each one of the requirements. So take some time to read the requirements, and if you have questions, I'll have some time during the first part of the next class to ask about those. So make sure you go through those, because there might be some questions. But all along the way, I'll be telling you, like, okay, it's practice coaching. That's one of the requirements, and you do this, this, and this for that. But the way this looks is we'll be meeting like this for an hour and a half each week. I'm still working on the new schedule, but you'll see the curriculum when I get that up, and that'll be the next couple of days. But we'll be talking about the tools and how they work and what they work with. We'll be going through all of the challenges that we experience and that we work with, that works the best. Week 6, you'll pick a creative project to work on, and I encourage people to work on something really small. This is Kaizen. A lot of people go, I'm going to get a book written, or I'm going to get my business up, or I'm going to get my website done. And what you're going to do, and you can put that out there, that can be a North Star. Like my creative project is to be on a podcast with Dan Harris. But my first steps are just to do little tiny 5-minute things. You'll see how Kaizen works. And we'll do practice labs where I'm going to be coaching some of the masters. You'll be meeting Sarah. She's somebody who helps me out, and she's been in the last couple of trainings. She's wonderful. She will be coaching some of you, Jamie, and there's another master coach coming into the program that's in the other class. She will be coaching probably people in that class. So you'll be able to practice coach with your master or with me. And what you're going to get is a kind of a formula. It's creative coaching, so you would think you're going to be really creative, and you will be. But there is a formula of questions that you ask that seem to work really well, and to give you structure as to where to start with your clients, and to make sure that you're staying away from just telling them what to do. And you will learn that it will be something that you will just drill into you, because it works so well, and because it's really easy to start telling people what to do, even if you've heard it from me so many times that that's not what you want to do. Let's go back to our files and just click on quick distinctions, and let's open up that file, because that's kind of a fun one. And we'll just take a look at that in these last moments here. So Kaizen, that's the way it's pronounced. A lot of people go Kaizen, whatever, or Kaizen. I think it's Kaizen. And it's a Japanese word for continuous improvement made through small steps. And if you're reading Dr. Mauer's book, which is the first book you want to read, it will explain how Kaizen comes from Toyota and how it works. He's sort of the expert on that, but it's used in a lot of different ways. It's not just used for small steps like 5 minutes here and there. It's used for changing your belief system. So if you, for instance, you want to start believing more in yourself, you're not going to go from, I fear that what people will think, to, I don't care what people think. That's too big a step. So you're going to learn how to change your belief systems one tiny step at a time. By asking a question. I posted how important questions are. Asking the question, what would it feel like to trust that what I'm doing is going the way it's supposed to? What would it be like to believe it for 5%? So I'll present to you when we get to it, the 4-part belief maker. And that is a realistic way of changing from fear to trust, from not being able to take compliments to taking compliments, from just one thing to another. And that's another way that we use small steps in this approach. The muse that means a creative principle. So you'll be learning about these creative principles both in the form of these muses and also in the form of these principles. And so if we put that together, KMCC is using these creative principles and original tools to make continuous improvement through small steps in any creative endeavor. And here's sort of an encapsulation of who we work with. People desiring any kind of change in one's life, especially when experiencing fear, procrastination, perfectionism, resistance, feelings of overwhelm, doubt, difficulty making time, self-sabotage, idea, bankruptcy, difficulty returning to an endeavor, cultivating and taking deeper the arts, writing, crafts, and any creative pursuit for Virginia, for beginners to experts wanting to deepen their voice, living life using creative thinking for resilience, mindfulness, and fulfillment. This is a very mindful model. That's why we have this acceptance thing going on right from the very beginning, accepting all of your fears about the training. Mindfulness is acceptance. It's being mindful of what's going on, and then it's somehow letting that be okay. So we'll be working with that. So we're business, you can work with people building businesses and relationships, wellness, life passages, transitioning through loss in the myriad of life stages, any aspect of life that can benefit from an original small step approach. So take some time to read this, how it differs from life coaching, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. And some of the big things that you'll be learning is that when we meet clients, we're not just about accountability. We're not saying, okay, you're not getting to your creativity, take out your calendar and let's write down where you're going to get to it. We're not doing that. We're going, let's start right here in this session. Can you get your sketchbook? Can we go to your website? Can we make a phone call? I've made people make phone calls during the session that they've been putting off. To break that resistance, it makes your sessions much more valuable than if you're just doing accountability. So there's an experience in every session. You'll get an acronym that spells out planets. I guess that is the acronym. And what planets is the P is for providing an experience. The L is for lowering expectations. The A is for asking questions. And you'll get a handout on this. The N is for normalizing. The E is for elevating. The T is for thinking differently. And the S is for small steps. Let me just go to... Does anybody have any questions so far?
On the reading materials that you have listed, when do we need to get those by? Or is there
do you have the Kaizen book yet?
No, I have this book.
Okay, you want that book. So you want to get the One Small Step Can Change Your Life and start reading that.
Okay.
And yeah, just, that one, Dr. Maurer. I'm going to be sending you
I can order them all, so.
Yeah, don't order the 9 Modern Day Muses because you'll be getting that one shortly
Okay.
from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jill, in the Facebook page where we're listing the points, is that a continuous thread or are we listing our points individually? Like you've had us do in the past?
You can do it either way. There'll be a post for each class, so that'll happen. But if you want to do separate ones, that's fine. If you want them to do them all in the same post, that's fine.
Okay.
Sometimes when you do them in separate points, it's easier to give feedback to you about it. But if they're consecutively listed under each other, that would be more helpful to do. So this class is shorter than I'm doing the new stuff here, so I'm trying to figure out what else I can talk about today because it's a good opportunity. So just some other distinctions. So we don't tell people what to do. We have an experience in every session. We give people permission. One of the things that we honor as part of the normalization is what we do as humans. So here are some of the things that creative people do. They decide they want to work on something and they want to work on it every day. Every day is a setup, especially if you're a perfectionist. So if I'm going to start writing, I'm going to start working on my sketches every day. I'm going to start journaling every day. And it's out there. It's out there in all of the blogs and the self-help and authors. You need to write every day. And most of those people don't do it every day. It's not a human thing to do something every day. So for the perfectionist, they set out to do something every day and they do it 5 days a week, they failed. And they're more likely to quit. Whereas the person who's kind of like, I'm going to do this every day-ish, they'll do it 3 times a week, and they'll know that 3 times a week is better than no times a week because you said you were going to do it every day and you missed one day. Does that make sense? It's really important for the coach because your clients will have that expectation. In fact, in the next 9 minutes, I want to just give you the 5 foundations of creative blocks. And that's one of them. One of them is really high expectations. And that includes, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to be really good at this from the start. I'm going to write really well when I've never written before. Right? And so anybody here ever have really high expectations and just kind of procrastinated instead of doing that? Really high expectations lead to procrastination. They lead to overwhelm, leads to perfectionism. So what do some of you think is another foundation of creative blocks? What has been a foundation of a creative block for yourself?
Comparison.
Okay, so comparison falls under, so I'm going to put comparison is not one of the creative blocks, but I'm going to put that because it falls under one of the creative blocks. So just yell things out, and if it's not one of the major creative blocks, we'll put it aside. What else comes up for you when you're blocked?
One thing that comes up for me is like thinking about the end goal and not really like trusting my process. Like I'm trying to think of like what I want it to be and not actually like working towards getting it done. And like that just stops me automatically.
Okay, so being caught up in the end product,
Yeah.
right? All right, so that falls under really high expectations. I'm expecting the end product to be this way. So this is good. You'll see where things fall. What else? What else comes up for people? And that's a really good one. What we are is really process oriented, and we will be talking a lot about how we work with the process. What is another block?
Well, I guess one of the blocks that I mentioned, which is, listening to old tapes, listening to,
Okay, so self-talk, unhelpful
Mhm.
self-talk is one of the 5 major ones. One, unhelpful self-talk. The things we say to ourselves. I'm too old, look what they're doing and I'm not doing. Just that whole gamut of anything that discourages you that you're saying to yourself. And the mindful part of it is, those are just mind states. They're often not true. We might not be good enough yet, but the yet makes a huge difference between I'm not good enough and I'm not good enough yet, right? One of them has hope, and the other one is, I'm not good enough, so never mind. So really high expectations and self-talk. Think of what stops you. What gets in your way? Heidi?
How about the need for it to mean something? And I guess what I mean by that is what I was saying earlier, like it has to make money, or it has to be worth something, or it has to be worth your time, something like that.
Okay, good.
And I guess that's kind of extrinsic.
It's another really high expectation. So this needs to make money, or it's not worth doing, right? Mm-hmm. And it can fall into a couple of different ones. Any other guesses as to?
I was thinking not really having a lot of ideas and not knowing where to start.
Having a lot of ideas, and yeah, that's a big one. Not knowing having a lot of ideas and not knowing where to start. Another one that falls under really high expectations. So there's a big one that is also playing a part in the ones that you guys are talking about. Any guesses? What is the self-talk, I'm not good enough, coming from?
Fear.
Fear is one of the biggest. It's a block, but it's also just really, all of these are really normal. Fear comes up in the creative process. Fear that this isn't going anywhere. Fear that I don't know where to start. Fear that I'm never going to get started. So fear is another one. And I'll tell you the other two since we're running out of time. Habits. Our habits. Our self-talk is a habit. Depression is a habit. Procrastination is a habit. Feeling overwhelmed is a habit. Facebook is a habit. TV is a habit. We love our habits. They're comfortable. And sometimes they're comfortable in a weird and twisted way, and we would rather do something that's not serving us because it's comfortable and familiar than start a creative process that brings up fear or brings up the unknown. So habits are another one. And the last one is resistance and family dynamics. Resistance that comes from family dynamics. And it's kind of self-sabotage. And that's a whole class in and of itself that we'll talk about, self-sabotage. But it's having opportunities, having somebody want to help you, and you somehow sabotaging it. It's having opportunities, it's not showing up. Procrastination can be self-sabotage. Perfectionism is glorified self-sabotage because we can't be perfect. And one of the things, so, perfectionism falls under really high expectations. It falls under fear of not being good enough. It becomes a habit. It's also self-sabotage. Perfectionism is one of the biggest things we work with. It has the mantra, I'm not good enough. And it's one of the things that responds the best to this model because we're lowering expectations and we're getting people into enjoying the process. The perfectionist is the one that goes, this has to look a certain way or it's not worth anything. One of the biggest sadnesses about perfectionism is that somebody can be doing really well, but they don't feel it or see it or acknowledge it. They're out of touch with it. Somebody can compliment them and they think the compliment is just to make them feel good, or that person doesn't really know how well I could do, or I just don't believe them. So those are where we're going to talk about our blocks coming from. Really high expectations, self-talk, fear, habits, and resistance. And how our model will help that is by lowering expectations. That's what the small steps are. Instead of working an hour 3 times a week, why don't you start out by asking a question? So small, it's hard not to do it. Self-talk, we're going to be looking at ways, different things that we can say to ourselves. Kaizen is developed to lower fear because the fear comes up in the amygdala, which turns off the cortex, which is the creative part of the mind. So we're going to be lowering that through small steps and lowering expectations. And also by honoring that fear is part of the process and just doing stuff anyway, right? Habits. Kaizen is one of the best ways to develop new habits. Just one little tiny small step at a time. The brain can't adapt a new habit like an hour a day. It has to start with small increments of time in order to adapt that. And resistance. We'll talk about family dynamics and how awareness of sabotaging ourselves is one of the biggest steps in undoing it. So today's homework is just to, what is it? Back to your agenda, to post your call points, to share with the thread some 3 of your creative successes. And within each of those successes, what about you made that success possible? Was it your personality, your skills, your persistence, a deadline, a circumstance? So just kind of musing about that. I'm also going to upload a handout about normalization and about these blocks that we just talked about for you to take a look at. Anybody have any questions? All right. What stands out for you about this class the most, Megan?
I think the emphasis on the small steps, because in the past I've been very good at self-sabotaging, and if something didn't turn out beautiful and perfect the first time, it wasn't good enough. But I think taking the small steps will really help me get over that, and then I can help other people get over it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that can be a call point for you. How about you, Heidi?
A lot of what Megan said, I think this is really inspiring, and I think everything that we're learning to help other people, it's exciting to be able to try out using them on ourselves too.
Yeah, good. How about you, Melissa?
It's hard for me to like pinpoint one thing. I'm just really looking forward to like the process of I don't know, just kind of like learning how to facilitate conversations, and this is all just like really inspiring. And I'm looking forward to like using it on like family and friends without even telling them beforehand.
Yeah, you know what? That's the cool thing about this is people will come to you and they'll go, oh, this is happening and this is happening. And what you'll learn to do is say, well, has this ever happened before? And if it did anything work for you? Or what do you think would work? Those 2 questions are magic. And you guys, you can start practicing with other people and notice what happens when you ask them. How about you, Kathy? Thanks, Melissa.
I think for me, I was listening to the part about self-talk. Obviously, that was something that's important. And the interesting thing about that was I started to think, I'm kind of changing those things or turning off those inner voices by just the fact that I'm sitting in this class, because I kept going back and forth with, should I sign up? Should I not sign up? Should I sign up? Should I not sign up? Finally, I went, would you stop it and just do it?
Uh-huh.
And so I started to change things to just do it.
Yeah.
So that's why I think I'm going to start changing the thought processes in my head to stop that kind of a conversation. And at least, while it's happening, I can at least have something new to say.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Because you may have the pattern of, should I do this? Should I not do this? And at some point you can just go, that's my pattern. You know what? And when I have said I'm going to do it, it worked for me. So I think I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Honoring our patterns. Yeah. How about you, Kate?
For me, I would say the opening meditation of that garden and kind of thinking of the presence that is in there felt very calming. And this feels like a very unknown path and uncharted territory I'm kind of walking into. But there was this, oh, I'm excited. I don't know where it's going to go. And kind of playing off of that and even having artistic ideas in my head of, I got to go draw this now. So excited to see how just within one little class period, I've been inspired, and now being able to somehow down the line help others do that as well. So sort of seeing it in action.
Yeah, and both you and Kathy hit on something. Just talking about the creative process is being in the creative process, because we don't talk about it a lot. And when you're talking about it, you get ideas, you get desires to do it. So as a coach, it makes it really easy because you're listening and you're reflecting back and you're accepting. And oftentimes people come up with their own answers simply by just talking about it and having somebody compassionately listening. Great. How about you, Jamie?
There's so much. I think coming back to being focused for the next 20 weeks on the small steps. Since I've done this the first time, I've reminded myself about that, but I think I've strayed from it, Jill. So I think the emphasis is at the crux of it for me.
Yeah. Okay, great. And by the way, comparison fits into fear that I'm not as good as other people. So, okay, there was a lot this first class, but it'll all come up again. And I believe in the repetition as a way of learning. So go post your call points. It's good to get that out of the way right at the beginning so you don't forget. And I'll be in touch during the week. And if you have any questions during the week, you can ask me or Sarah, and we'll go from there. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Sweet dreams. Bye-bye.
Night,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.